Well, it is the biggest grudge match in Australian boxing, and on Wednesday, July the 7th, live on Main Event Television, two fighters who've had a lot to say about each other for a long time will fight. But before all that, Tszyu and Michael Zerafa meet here with me today. Gentlemen, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It seems like an eternity ago that we announced this fight at a very fiery press conference. A lot has gone down since then. Tim, what's your time been like since that day?
I've just been training. I haven't focused on anything besides that. Look, I'm quite simple. I let my fists do the talking. That's it. What
about you, Michael? It's been more dramatic.
Look, Melbourne's been pretty crazy. It's becoming normal for us to be in lockdown, but we had to make do with what we had. We've just been training, sparring, getting all the work in.
You say that you are the B-side and the underdog in this fight. It seems that you're not happy with having that tag. Even here today, you've disputed what side of the desk you're sitting on. Getting you to come here was a little bit of an ordeal. Where does that come from?
Not at all. It's just, I've been all around the world. I've fought some of the best in the world, gone the distance with some of the best in the world. I've beat world champions. Some of the guys that Timmy's fought and beaten, I've done the same. And, even on the odds, 5 to 1, with the guys I've been in there and my career to this day, it's a little bit disheartening, but it is what it is, and I'm always B-side. I prefer it. The underdog is the best way to be. And like I said, I feel that there's no pressure on me. I know that, everyone's getting behind him and, he's the rising star and he's the best thing in Australian boxing, but I'm here to make that, journey end. And I'm coming to end his career, and that's the whole game plan, you know what I mean?
Tim, any response to the fact that he's coming to end your career?
Look, it's this stage that I've been on now. Every fight that I've had has been like that. This is a do or die for all my opponents, and the one thing that I keep doing is not allowing that, because at the end of the day, there's a lot for myself to go on to. I've got a big career ahead, and I see the goals that I've set myself. Possibilities are endless. So, I'm not allowing anyone to take away the food from my plate.
What about what he says about having fought stronger opponents than you and having gone overseas? How do you respond to what he says? Yeah,
look, he's been there. He's been there. He's done it. I'm 4.5 years into my professional career. If this COVID situation was different, I'm sure I would have been as well fighting overseas and fighting these opponents. But look, I haven't had the opportunity yet.
So sorry, you agree with him that he has a better resume than you?
He's fought more quality, but at the end of the day, he's just been under that world-class level. But I have fought the best here in Australia. Dwight Ritchie, Jeff Horn, all these boys, these were the best fighters here in Australia, and Michael Zerafa is the next one on the list.
One of those fights that Michael references as a reason that he will beat Tszyu is his fight against Kell Brook. He went the distance over in the UK. Let's have a look at some of the highlights of this fight. And Michael, I'll just start with you. What did it feel like coming out into a hostile atmosphere like you did over in the UK against one of their stars?
Look, I've done it before. Like I always say, at 21 years old, I was in America fighting another big name in Peter Quillen. With a hostile crowd and everyone against me, but. That's been my whole career. And like I said, I've got that underdog mentality. I've mixed it with the best. And, Kell Brooks is one of the biggest names in the sport. Not many people beat him, and he knocked out a lot of big names and was the IBF world champion, beat Sean Porter. And, I've proven that I can mix it at that top level. I fell short, but I'm only 26. At 26 years old, even Kell Brooks said, at 26 years old, he wasn't fighting Kell Brooks. And no disrespect to Tszyu, but he's 26 and fighting, Dennis Hogan. At 26, I was fighting Kell Brooks, and the one thing he mentions, Timmy, is I've got no heart, everyone knows that's the one thing I've got, is heart. And, I don't need to prove how big my balls are. I've proven it, And I'd rather him say I've got no chin or no boxing IQ. To say I've got no heart, just knows that he hasn't really taken me that seriously. As you can see, I've got a heart and I walk forward. And I started slow, man. Like I said, I'm fighting main event in Australia. It's completely different going overseas. You know what I mean? And I started slow, and as you can see, he's rocked here. You know what I mean? And I'm coming down, and you know, it's a different level. And again, nothing taken away from him. He just hasn't. His time hasn't come yet at that level. And yeah, but I've been there. I've done it. And I'm ready to shock the world again.
Tim, he's ultimately saying that that performance is better than anything you've ever done. How do you respond to that?
Oh, I disagree because if he won that fight, it would have been, yeah, that could have been the answer. But he didn't win that fight, so I don't see that as an accomplishment. I see it as it's a good experience learned, but as an accomplishment, I don't see it as an accomplishment.
What about the comments that he makes about his heart? Do you feel that that's somewhere that he lacks?
No, I think no, I don't. I misguided those words. Look, I think he's got heart. I think he's always in it. He's never going to give up. But I do believe he's got a bit of scaredness in him. He's got a bit of that fear, which is completely fine. But I feel like Michael does have emotions. He's a very emotional type guy, and that fear sometimes kicks in, and that's what I feel like I need to exploit.
You scared of him?
Not at all. You know, what he thinks is scared is focused, in my eyes. You know, this camp, to me, this fight is a world title fight. You know, Tszyu is the biggest name in Australian boxing. I'm here to knock him off that perch, you know, and I truly believe I can do it. And I'm definitely not scared. I wouldn't have taken I wasn't forced to take this fight. You know what I mean? The better man will win on the night, and that's boxing. There's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser. I truly believe I'll be victorious. And it's not just in front of cameras. I have this feeling, I've dreamt it before. The preparation, that's why I've been quiet. Preparation's been the best ever. You know, even through COVID, mentally. I don't need to learn how to box. You know, there's things we work on and try to get better in, but it's all mental. It all comes down, and like I said, I've been in the trenches. Tszyu has been good enough to stop his opponents, but he hasn't been in deep waters. And that's credit to him. You know, you can't take that away from him. He beat Jeff Horn, stopped him. He's stopping the guys that have been put in front of him. And that comes down to his team and his ability. But I think I'm a different level. And I've proven that. And, you know, when it comes down to deep waters, I think he will drown.
What do you think?
Put me in there and I'm going to swim.
We'll see July 7th. Yeah. Bring your floaties. You'll be swimming. Just.
See.
We'll see, brother. We'll see.
Let's have a look at some more highlights from Michael Zerafa. He mentioned that he has been a giant killer and caused some major upsets before. This is the first fight between Zerafa and Jeff Horn, which took place in Bendigo, the biggest night and the most successful night of your professional boxing career so far. Tell us what we're seeing.
Look, you know, Jeff Horn is an awkward dude. He brings a lot of power, and yeah, I knew signing that fight I was going to beat him, and I called it. You know, that's why I said when you interviewed me after the fight, I said, "Why he's all surprised?" I said I knew I was going to beat him. I called this 12 weeks ago. You know, people think you can hit me, and you know, Joel Camilleri, a perfect example. You know, a former stablemate says, you know, you think you got him, and you can't work him out. I'm always changing my game plan, my distance, and a big thing that's going to play in this is power. And I truly believe Tim hasn't been in there with anybody with my power. And I know he thinks he has, but he hasn't. And, you know, out of my 28 wins, I've knocked out 18 of them. And, you know, I get stronger as the rounds go on, as you can see. I knew I was gonna hurt him. And it proved that I was better on the night.
What are you seeing, Tim?
Yeah, look, he's picking up the pace. He's found his range, he's found his distance. Jeff's got nothing in return besides that, cuddling and punching him behind the back. Simple boxing. Michael's doing well. Michael's doing well. He's doing simple boxing. That's all it takes.
Are you seeing a very good Michael Zerafa or an underdone Jeff Horn?
No, I see the good in Michael.
You can see the power I bring to the fight. You know, look, as he's getting up, he's still not recovered. And that's poor refereeing in both my fights. You know, again, I was the underdog. You know, I feel like they're against me all the time. But, you know, my speed, my power, my timing, and my experience. That's going to be a big role in this fight. You know, my experience. Timmy's doing great, and he's getting better each fight. And I'm never here to ever put anyone's career down, but you know, I get stronger as the fight goes on. I work out fighters, I break down fighters, and again, Timmy's blowing out his opponents in the first 5 to 6 rounds. You know, going in those deep rounds, he's going to struggle because I get stronger.
I'm excited about that because that's where I get better as well. So that's what makes this fight so interesting for myself, is that I'm able to break my opponents down and to get them to an energy level where they can't get out. And hopefully Michael is able to push it past there, and that's what I'm.
I've proven
really
I can.
Excited.
I've proven I can.
I'm excited about
you know, what I mean, I've proven that I can, and I will. And again, you know, mentally, this fight. You know, people say every fight camp, oh, you know, this is the best, you know, training camp I've ever been. It probably hasn't, due to what's happening in Melbourne in terms of training. But mentally, of the downtime I've had, I've been working on that and building mental preparation, and that's key. You know, for me, you know, if you vision it and you see it, it's going to happen. And I did that with the first Jeff Horn fight, and and I'm more confident in this fight because styles make fights. And I knew Jeff Horn, he's awkward and he's powerful and he's, you know, rugged. Could have slowed me down a little bit, but you know, Tszyu brings that neat style, the long range, which I love. And he's never fought anybody that's, you know, that's a counter fighter, that's got that power, that can brawl, sit on your chest for 12 rounds, and just be in your grill the whole night. And that's what you're going to do. You'll find that you'll struggle. You'll see.
I like that, man.
You'll see.
I like that.
You've never had anybody do it to you, so you don't know that you like that. You may be doing it in sparring.
I've sparred plenty of boys, but
sparring and fighting is two different things.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? But again, he's doing well, and the better man will win on the night.
Tim, what do we read out of the fact that he's been chasing you? He's the one who wants this fight, whereas you've decided to fight numerous others instead of him. Does that show that he's more invested in this fight and more confident about it?
No, look, I'm 100% confident in this fight. I just didn't want to fight Michael because he lost to Horn. I didn't see the point, so. At that time, I wanted to fight the winner of them two. So I got to fight Horn instead. But none of that makes a difference anyway.
Do you think he's been avoiding this fight?
100%. He knows the risk. You know, he had a 4-fight plan that I always alliterate before I even fought Horn. So, and I was in that. And I was before Horn, to be honest. And they know the risk that I can bring. And you know, that's their team. That's obviously what they sit down and decide. I don't get involved in that, but you know, I feel like they've tried to avoid me for quite some time. You know, there was numerous opportunities where they could have fought me, and they chose guys out of retirement, smaller guys. And I think even if I wasn't going to fight this fight, that they had.
But you were offered that fight.
Lenny Zapavinia, yeah, but tell the people why I didn't take it. You were lowballing me. You were offering guys out of retirement triple the amount of money. It just shows that you didn't want to fight me. I'll say you offered me $70,000, but you're offering guys out of retirement that are 2 divisions smaller, $130,000. That's pure fear.
That couldn't be.
Mate, I got the contracts. Why do you think we knocked it back? Why do you think I knocked it back?
Mate, I'm not involved.
I'm only getting older. I'm not getting younger. Why would I take you later?
I'm not involved with.
Of course, you're not involved now. Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying.
I get told one thing.
You say one thing and then you go back because you don't know the actual facts. I'm telling you facts.
Who I'm fighting against.
I'm telling you facts.
And that's it.
You just said to me, I got offered the fight earlier.
You did.
And I'm telling you why I knocked it back. And now you're saying, oh, why don't I get involved now?
You were supposed to fight Mundine.
I did fight Mundine.
That's what your excuse was.
No, it wasn't. I told you what the excuse was. You lowballed us in an offer.
Then you come to the fight.
And the reason why I fought Mundine is because you didn't want to fight me. Because whatever the reason, I'm not saying you didn't want to fight me because you were scared. You said, all right, your reason was you wanted to fight Horn. That's fine. But we got locked down. I only had one fight. And the only one that was willing to step up was, we asked Jeff Horn for a trilogy fight. He said no. And then obviously you were doing your plans. Mundine was the only one that said we'll step up. And that was a legacy fight for me. That meant something to me. There was meaning behind that fight. And I got the belt I lost.
Behind the Mundine?
Behind the Mundine fight.
Right.
But I do recall you a year and a half ago on Fight Call Out saying you'd love to fight Mundine, let's get it on.
That was 2 years in my professional career.
Doesn't matter. It means nothing.
2 years.
Who cares?
When I started.
He's had a 25-year career. I've only had a 9-year career. So, I mean, you keep thinking I'm 40 years old.
45 years old,
Doesn't matter. Well, so, okay, so do you still watch Mayweather and support them? Do you still see Pacquiao winning world titles? I do. Same age.
Different.
Different what? Levels, exactly. And you're going to find that July 7th. Levels.
You don't understand about levels, man.
Okay.
You don't understand.
Okay. Yeah, all right. We'll see. Well, I said we'll see. Told you. It's not Micky Zerafa. It's Micky Hatton's rocking up.
Then
I'm taking over.
And the Pacquiao's going to rock up.
All right, that's fine. We'll see.
Remember what Pacquiao did to Hatton?
Yeah, you remember what Ricky Hatton did?
You didn't talk about that fight, man.
I'm just saying. You remember what
Don't talk
happened?
about that fight.
I'm just saying. You remember what happened in that fight? Micky Hatton's rocking up. We'll see. We'll see. I told you there's levels.
We'll see.
Have you watched that fight back?
I've watched
in
that
recent
fight.
times.
Watch the fight. And again, you can't take nothing away. His dad's a legend. Costa's a legend. And you can't, even if me and Tim completely hated each other, can't take nothing away from his old man. His old man's a legend. And put the sport pretty much on the map. Dominated, fought the best in the world. And, you know, again, a Hall of Famer. But, you know, looking back on that fight, they fight very similar, him and his old man. And, you know, there's ways to beat Tim. Tim's human. You know, you cut him, he bleeds red. He's got 2 arms and a head and has a heartbeat, just like me.
Do you think you've seen something in the Ricky Hatton Tszyu fight
I've seen a
that you
lot of
can use
things
in
in going back on Tim's fights, going back on Costa's fights, and just seeing they're very similar. Very similar.
One thing is watching. The other thing is when you actually get in the ring. It's a completely different
that's what I'm
story.
saying, but that's 2.5 weeks away. So that's
Yeah,
all right.
yeah,
I can't do it before that date. I'd love to, but I can't.
We'll see.
July 7th, we will see. We'll see.
What does it make you feel when you think back on that fight that he's just referenced between Ricky Hatton and your dad?
Look, it's a bad memory. It's not a good day in our family history. I don't like to talk about it, and it's personal.
He doesn't seem particularly happy that you brought that up.
Look, it was not in a disrespectful way, but I'm just saying strategically, fight-wise, stylistically, they fight very similar. And there wasn't too many fights that his old man lost. So I refer back to that fight, not knowing that it was personal, but, you know, there's a lot of things that Costa does and that Timmy do that are very similar, and there's ways to beat them. And I know those things. We've been working on those things. And July 7th, I'm going to bring them.
It is clearly personal, though. What does that reaction give you?
Look, I'm not about trying to hurt someone's feelings or, you know, bring stuff like that up. It's not me. And you know, again, like I said, you can't take nothing away that his family and the Tszyu name have done. You know, they put the sport on the map. But I'm the man now to change that. You know, just like he said, the food on his plate, I'm trying to do the same thing. I fight for my friends, my family, and a life for me. We're chasing the same dream. And it's unfortunate that there's a winner and there's a loser. If we could both go there, I wish we could. But unfortunately, there can only be one, and it has to be me. It's a you know, kill or be killed.
The energy's changed here a little bit. What does that mean, the fact that he's making the Micky Hatton references?
What's Micky Hatton supposed to mean?
Well, I guess it's a play on Ricky Hatton, and he's using his own name first.
It's not pleasant, and it's personal for me, that fight, because again, it brings bad memories, and yeah, I don't want to think about it. It's no good, and I'll make sure that doesn't ever happen in his family ever again.
Why does it make you feel the way that it does? Is it simply the memory of what happened, or is it...
Yeah, simply the memory. See?
Do you think he's gone too far by referencing that?
I don't think he meant it. You know, everyone has dark places in their life, and that wasn't a good place in my family's life, and that's it.
Do you think he'll reference it again?
Look, it's not up to me. I'll make sure if he does that he'll pay for it.
Will you?
Nah, I said I've been there before. I know I can swim in the deep end, and I feel like I've got answers for everything he brings.
But will you reference the Hatton fight again?
I didn't. You can't play boxing. You know, we're fighters, and we settle in the ring by punching each other's head in. But the fact that it was personal, look.
So you might.
Nah, look, I didn't mean it, and I didn't mean it to come across that way, but I'm just saying stylistically, comparing the fights. You know, himself and his dad, they're very similar, which is a great, mate. That's an honour. But they're human and they can be beaten. And that was the point I was trying to put across. That, you know, Ricky Hatton come out and got the decision, and you know the game plan coming into July 7th is going to be pretty similar.
He's backing off from it now. Why do you think that is, Tim?
No, he said it already. Look, Michael's coming with different game plans, which I'm quite excited about, because I don't know what to expect. I don't know what kind of Michael will come out. You could have a Michael that dances around, jabs around. You could have a Michael that throws a few counters. You could have a Michael that fights. You know, there's different styles in every fight. And now that he's saying he's coming forward, he's coming to rough, it's kind of like a Hatton style. Bring it. I love that. I love that type of style. So we'll see who takes the first backward step.
We're going back to Newcastle this time around, and this was a brutal, bullying performance. Tell us what you see as you have a look back at this one.
Not the best performance. It was good in a certain way, but I could feel him slowing. I could feel him breathing, and you know, when I'm in there, I feel like I'm an animal just going for my food.
What about the atmosphere of that venue, which for this fight will be called the Newcastle Entertainment Centre?
Yeah, it was unreal. Not many people get to experience such a thing, and yeah, it's definitely pretty crazy.
How do you feel about that, Michael, that you're going to be fighting in the Newcastle Entertainment Centre this time?
And again, Gula mentioned it, can't take it away from him. Credit to get a stadium named after you. It's pretty cool. I mean, I still think it's after his dad, but you know, again, it's not, you know, Tim Castle, it's Newcastle. But you know, this last performance, I agree. I think I've seen him in better shape, performed better. But you know, he stopped him, so you can't take that away from him. You know what I mean? But I truly believe he got exposed a little bit here. You know, he got hit with a lot of overhands, a lot of jabs. You know, you can see his hands are down, walking forward. You can do that with these kind of guys, those guys that are tough and, you know, rugged walk forward dudes. But, you know, these shots here, I would have had answers, 3s and 4s coming back at him. You know what I mean? There's counters, there's slips. You know what I mean? I actually called this, that actual shot in round 2. I said he's going to slip and come up with the uppercut, and he did. And again, good brain, but I think he was exposed a little bit. Hogan got a lot more shots in that shouldn't have landed. But,
what about being in a venue with a lot of the crowd against you?
Again, familiar territory. I've done it before. I switch off. I don't really hear it. I just hear noise, and that excites me.
Do you think he's going to get a shock?
About the crowd? Well, he's fought Kell Brook in his home, so I think this will be a bit different. This is a crazier than the English fans.
We're really looking forward to this fight. This has been an understated version of this format, but what have you taken out of this conversation with Michael Zerafa? Do you think we're going to see a reserved fight week? And what do you think we're going to see from him in the ring?
Oh, look, I think Michael's in the best shape of his career. He's coming to fight. He's ready to fight. He's taken it seriously. And again, as he said, may the best man win. But for myself, as I said before, winning's the only option.
What have you seen from Tim today?
Tim's Tim. From day one to now, it's the same Tim. I know he's got his switched on brain. I know he's coming to fight. I'm the man to upset everything, and I truly believe I can do it. Again, I'm bringing the power, the style, the heart, the experience. I'm bringing it all, and I know for a fact he hasn't fought anybody like me, and he's mentioned he hasn't fought anybody like me, and that's going to be a big difference.
Is it an advantage that you've found out something that you can rattle him with?
Nah, look, it means nothing to me. I've just got my mind on winning and having my hand raised again. That was nothing personal, and he knows that. That was just, you know, going back to stylistically and moving forward on what needs to be done.
Will there be payback for that?
I'm here for one object, one purpose, and that's to win, to get in there and to fight. That's it, simple.
Well, thank you, Tszyu Michael Zerafa, for your time here today. We cannot wait for this fight. You can see it, of course, on Main Event Television on Wednesday, July the 7th.